3 years ago, I was proud to see that this conference was the largest gathering of tribal leaders in our history. Back then, an event like this was rare. Today, it's gotten routine. What I told you then is that I was committed to more than a unique nation-to-nation relationship. I was committed to getting this relationship right so that your nations can be full partners in our economy and your children can have a fair shot at pursuing the American dream. No one has to live under the cloud of fear or injustice. And to make sure that we follow through on those commitments, excuse me, I've named Native Americans to my White House staff, like Jody Gillette and Charlie Galbraith, and many of you know. I've named Native Americans throughout my administration. And today, because we've made sure that the conversations here have translated into action, we can point to signs of real progress. We focused on justice and tribal sovereignty. Long-standing legal disputes like the Cobell case have been resolved. I signed into law the Tribal Law and Order Act, which is helping to fight crime. These are all important steps, but we've got more work to do. With domestic violence so prevalent on reservations, we're pushing Congress to restore your power to bring to justice anyone, Indian or non-Indian, who hurts a woman. With some tribal nations unable to put their land into federal trust, we're pushing Congress to pass the Karchi area fix right away. The other focus that a lot of you have spoken to me about, and that we're now really trying to drill down on, is expanding economic opportunity for Native Americans. Together, we've stepped up support for tribal colleges and universities so that more young people can graduate with the skills they need to start a career. We've strengthened tribal health care and made it more accessible. And along with the Hearth Act, we've streamlined leasing regulations, putting more power in your hands to build more homes and more small businesses, more clean energy projects, like the Moapa solar project in Nevada. But we've got more work to do. We've got to rebuild America's infrastructure, from roads to high-speed internet, that will help connect Native communities to other parts of the country and other parts of the world. Congress needs to expand support for Native American small businesses, because when they're opening new stores or exporting new goods, then they're creating new jobs. So that's where we need to go. That's the future we need to build. And I've never been more hopeful about our chances. Part of that hopefulness is because I've got to know so many of you, and I know the skills, the talent, the dedication, and the values and the wisdom that you all represent. And I'm hopeful not just because of the work all of you are doing, not just because of the solemn commitment of tribal leaders all across this country. I'm also hopeful because of the rising generation who I've seen embrace the responsibility of following in your footsteps. I'm hopeful because of young folks like Nick Tilson. I just had a chance to talk to Nick, a Lakota Indian who lives on the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota, which is one of the poorest parts of the country. And unemployment there is rampant. High rates of disease and violence are often forcing folks to downsize their dreams, but there's a more promising statistic in Pine Ridge. More than half of Pine Ridge's population is under 30 years old. And many of those young people, like Nick, are giving all they have to help turn things around. So Nick heads up a nonprofit in Pine Ridge. A few years ago, with the support of some grants and other members of his tribe, Nick built a community center that uses spiritual and cultural teachings to help young people stay off drugs and their parents live healthier lifestyles. It's making a difference. So today he's building something bigger, a clean energy community that will provide affordable housing for folks who need it and help more Lakota small businesses get off the ground. Day by day, family by family, community by community, Nick and his nonprofit have helped inspire a new beginning for Pine Ridge. In fact, just a few months ago, young and old came together to adopt a long-term plan that commits to bringing back jobs and development, bringing back native languages and customs, bringing back the spiritual strength that for so long has defined the Lakota people. Nick says, we've decided as a community to take ownership of our own future. See, that makes me hopeful, talking to young people like that, because throughout Indian country, you've got a generation ready to build on what generations before them have built. They're out there stirring with hope and restless for change and ready to take ownership of their future. So let's make sure our work here is worthy of their efforts. Let's do everything we can to get things in the best shape possible for when they're in charge. Over the next 4 years, as long as I have the privilege of serving as your president, we're going to keep working together to make sure that the promise of America is fully realized for every Native American. Thank you very much. God bless the United States of America.